Welcome to my boob saga.
Welcome to the show where we talk about boobies, which we do actually. Welcome to Empaths Anonymous.
A space for dreamers, healers, and feelers, navigating the fine line between putting yourself first and holding space for others.
If you struggle with balancing your needs while still supporting your tribe, then you're in the right place.
Welcome to the support group. The kids are wearing I Love Booby bracelets again.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody at my work, like we used to do back in
Yeah.
the days, like
I
multiple
remember.
of them. I'm like, this is so interesting.
Yeah, no, the 2000s are alive.
I know.
And it's freaking me out.
It's weird.
Especially being in school. You're like,
Oh,
oh my
I
God, I never
bet.
left. It's
bet.
a weird experience.
He also wears one that says I love older women, and I'm like, not this one.
Hello, hi, and welcome back to the Empaths Anonymous podcast. I'm Danny.
And I'm Christina.
And today, first of all, we wanted to say that we have a guest, and she is absolutely lovely, and we were very honored and thrilled to have her on, which we will get into, of course. But we wanted to do a trigger warning up front in the beginning, upfront and personal in the beginning of the episode to let you know that we will be discussing some childhood trauma stuff as it relates to being in the foster care system, having a social worker that could be triggering to some people if you were a part of that system, or if you know someone who is, and also DV. So if that is not your vibe today, tomorrow, or yesterday, click another one. We got plenty to choose from, and we do hope that you come back at a later time when you are ready, because this conversation is very important. It's not the whole time, but we do mention it, and it is a part of the conversation. You have time to exit if you need to.
Yes.
However, for those of you that are still here, thank you very much. And what's in your cup?
I started getting, have you ever gotten the targeted ads for the Buoy drops?
No.
The Buoy hydration drops?
No.
Oh, they are like a company that there's no additives.
Okay.
There's no dyes. There's no sugar at all. Not even stevia.
Good for them.
It's literally just fucking sea salt.
Oh.
And you squirt it into it. And yes, and it can go into any drink. It doesn't have to just be like water or whatever. You can put it in coffee, you can put it in a hot tea, you can put it in soda, you can put it in whatever you want.
Yeah.
And they have different ones for different things. And if you have a chronic illness, they give you a 30% discount. So you know that I cashed in on that. I'm like, ooh, the one time having a chronic illness is benefiting me.
Wow, good for them.
Yeah, so highly recommend. I got the immunity ones. They have like vitamin B6, B12, zinc, iron, vitamin C, I believe. And you don't really taste anything. They don't have any flavor.
Oh, okay. I think
it tastes a little tiny bit salty, but most electrolyte things do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girl, I was like so close because my dad has like dehydration spells like twice a year. Don't talk to me about it.
He needs these.
He does.
To put in
I
his
was at the Costco. Brand new Costco member over here. Shouts out. I was at the Costco and I was about to get a pack of the liquid IV. And I looked them up on the EWG app. Girlies, if you don't know what the EWG app is, it's an environmental workers group. You need to use it because it'll tell you what you're about to put on or inside of your body and if it's good or not. Which I'm surprised because I realized this after we went to Lush. None of their stuff is EWG certified. Not one thing. I was like, that's really curious.
Not Lush. Yeah. I love Lush.
A lot of their stuff is like kind of in the 5 or 6 range, which was even more surprising to me.
5 or 6, that's bad.
Out of 10, just so you know. So it's 10. Like out of 10.
Yeah, I'm usually like, I try to go for 0.
Yeah.
But I usually try to like not go above a 3.
3 or 4, you know. God. And it's a struggle because it's like you basically have to do that with every single thing that you buy.
Yeah.
Y'all, Liquid IV it was on the 10s. It had a 10 on the scale.
Yeah,
red.
Good.
A red 10. Red meaning bad.
Very bad.
So yeah, I put them back and I was like, absolutely not. I'm like, this is not going to help. My dad's going to poison him.
Yeah. Yeah. Liquid IV is not the jump. Element.
We have talked about Element before.
Yeah.
And there are in the cart or in the list that I have. I have many lists on Amazon.
That one's better, but I would check that one on EWG because what if it's not actually that much better?
Exactly.
I should look up these, but I think that they say right on the thing, like, no this, no that, no blah, 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 no blah, blah, blah.
If they get a pass, if they get a green light, we'll link them in the description. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We wanted to really dive into this week's episode and just let you all know that it gets a little bit emotional at some points, but we are so very thankful to our guest, Miss Sandra Nuñez of Educated Chingona. And without further ado, let's get right into it.
Hi, guys. We are so excited today to have someone on the podcast. Her name is Sandra Nuñez. She is a first-generation Mexicana and former foster youth who earned her bachelor degree in sociology in 2022, joining the 3% of foster youth who attend college. Her journey has empowered her to share her story, recognizing the power of creating her own platform when no seat at the table was offered. Sandra is passionate about education and empowerment, believing we must create spaces for ourselves and others. Education has transformed her life, building her confidence and opening doors. As a mother, she's proud to be breaking cycles and inspiring others, especially those who doubt their worthiness for higher education. Welcome to the podcast, Sandra. We're so excited to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for being here. We love the idea of Educated Chingona. I think I found your Instagram off of someone else who shared your story, or you know how social media works. And I was like, ooh, click. And we just understand how education is the answer to female empowerment, especially in spaces like ours, BIPOC spaces. So when did you decide that that was going to be your life path?
Well, I want to start off by saying that I've, through my 4 years, almost 5 years of having this platform, I've learned that education is not for everyone. I can respect that and I can acknowledge that. We have so many, I don't know if I can curse or not, so many badass entrepreneurs out there, right, that didn't go to school, right? They gained their education from just interacting with other women, going to different workshops. They educated themselves in different ways, and that's completely fine. What I share on my platform is what worked for me and what helped me to get me to where I am today. Right. So I emphasize that quite a bit on my social media because I completely understand that. I've had that where it's like back and forth about no education. And that's cool. Again, it's not for everyone, but for those that it's for, those people, those women, those individuals will relate to what I have to share. But this platform started out in 2019. And it's a lot to scroll back on, but I started with little post-its that I was posting because I needed that encouragement as a full-time mom, as a full-time nurse, as a full-time student, who already had all odds stacked against her. At that time, I finally reconnected with siblings from my paternal side about 5 years ago. But before that, I didn't have family to run to and say, hey, I'm overwhelmed. My kids were so small, I couldn't vent to them. So it was hard for me to find a space in which people could relate to the life as a parent and as a student. So I said, why not do that for myself? Why not start hyping myself up? Why not start sharing words of encouragement with myself? But then again, I might not be the only one out there that needs it. I know I'm not the only one chasing an education. I'm not the only one being a mom at home and still holding a full-time job. So I took it to social media. For me, it was more of a therapeutic thing, is to, type these things up, be creative with it, and then post it to see who could relate. And it took 4 years to get to where I'm at today. But I started noticing the comments, the direct messages. I was overwhelmed with the amount of individuals that could relate to what it was that I was sharing. I was not alone, and I'm not alone in this world. And that's what encouraged me to continue doing what I'm doing on the platform, just being able to create a vulnerable and transparent space, because social media has turned into this world of influencers that get paid to share the butterflies and rainbows of life. But we all know that that's not the case for everyone. We are all still healing. We are all still trying to figure our lives out. A lot of us have not had it easy, and we're still trying to figure out how to stay above water. And I feel like I do a great job at that because I find empowerment behind my struggles. I find empowerment behind me being able to actually talk about the hard stuff of life. And that's why I took it to social media, because I feel like we need more of it out there.
Right. Yeah. It's very funny how similar those thoughts and feelings are to some of the conversations that Christina and I were having prior to starting the podcast, because it was always that question of, is it just us? Are we the only ones? It's impossible. There's no way we're the only ones who feel like this, feel that way. We did, however, forget to rewind, ask you, which is very important, what is in your cup today?
Oh, goodness. Well, If y'all know me and you guys have been following me for some time, y'all know that I always have my coffee with me, whether it be Starbucks or whether it be brewed at home. But today I was just like, you know what? Let me just treat myself. I went for a walk this morning and then I said, okay, I'm going to get my coffee. So I'm drinking a venti iced caramel macchiato upside down. And that is my go-to. Always my go-to. Yes.
A classic.
Yes.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. I have coffee brewed at home too. It started hot and I didn't want to reheat it, so I just put ice over it.
Oh,
So
okay.
now it's my hot
Iced
iced coffee.
Yes. Yeah. And then what's in your life cup, as we call it?
In my life cup right now, I mean, the way I fill it up lately is walking. I walk, I hike, and sometimes I lose track of time. The other day I went 10 miles and I noticed it when my knee started hurting. I was like, hold on. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm at almost 9.5. I was like, I gotta go home. I was like, I can't keep, oh no. So I put on my headphones, I put on my favorite music and I just go for it. Me by myself, I've learned how to be comfortable with going by myself instead of waiting for others to show up for me. So I find a lot of joy in just being able to walk.
Yes.
Yeah, we love that. We are all about hot girl walks in this house.
Yeah. The movement is very therapeutic and kind of like you, like if that's the only hour or 2 hours that I get to myself all day, like it's such a joy and a pleasure because I can plug in or unplug and kind of plug into whatever I'm like needing that day, whether it's a podcast or music or just kind of walking in silence. Sometimes I just talk to myself.
It's
But
refreshing.
it's nice to have
It's refreshing for sure. Just to get out. Yes.
Right. Yeah, especially when you have so much on your plate and you're, juggling all of these things. Then you're like, okay, let me just like unplug from the world for a second, be out in nature and like really recenter.
Yes, for sure. I agree with that. I love it. I enjoy every second of it. So I try to do it about 4 days a week, 5 days the most. But weekends, I'm sports mom. So that gets hard. That gets really hard. So I try to just go ham during the week and hopefully that helps me kind of stay afloat. So yeah.
That's fun,
Yeah,
though.
of course. I know that you're pretty vocal about this on your platform. I'm not sure how comfortable you are sharing it on a podcast, but we did want to ask. We recently had a episode where we talked about DV, and when we reviewed the movie It Ends With Us. As a survivor yourself, what coping skills have you learned that help you on the days that feel extra difficult?
Well, to start off, I watched that movie with my daughters. One just turned 18 and then my other one's 19. So I feel comfortable enough now answering their questions. And they had already known because of therapy sessions that we've had in the past about my DV background. And it's my 18-year-old father who I experienced that with. So I just didn't want her to live with that guilt of, oh, it was me, it was my dad. So we've gotten very comfortable. They've gotten very comfortable with asking me questions. So they asked me if I can go watch the movie with them. And I said yes. But in regards to that, honestly, I think just talking about it on social media and just showing up on spaces like this podcast, every time it's healing. It is healing because I hid that for many, many years from people. And I didn't talk about it for many, many years because I felt like a failure. I felt like, Sandra, you knew better. And how didn't you get out of that sooner, right? So for a very long time, I blamed myself and I kind of felt like, you know what, you deserve that. Like you should have just, right? That self-talk, that negative self-talk, but with time and just talking about it and just meeting other individuals and even individuals on my platform reaching out to me or DMing me. I've, video called a few of them and just being able to just talk about it has allowed me to get to a space where it's easier to talk about. I still find myself like TV shows, the movie, people expressing like, oh, this is what's going on in my home type, just venting. I still find myself sometimes still feeling some type of way about it, but I feel like I've came a long way. But simply just talking about it, writing about it. I co-authored a book last year. I'm hoping to publish my own book next year in which I dive into the daily life of Sandra when I was experiencing that. And that alone has definitely, I feel lighter. I feel like I've been able to get a lot off my chest without having to pour onto someone else. I feel like just writing this book and just typing my little heart out, again, the healing, it's just so healing. And I remember this in therapy and it was constantly having to remind myself, you're not there anymore. You're not there anymore. That is not the life you are living now. Constantly having to remind myself about that, whether it be my kids sharing something with me about their friends and their families, just having to navigate life outside. Because what I tend to do, honestly, is live a life where I feel like my kids have to be sheltered in a sense or protected because of the stuff that I experience.
Right.
But they're not experiencing the stuff that I experience. I am a different
Right.
person. I am a different mom. They're not being parented by the person who raised me, per se. So I have to give myself some grace on that and give them some grace as well in understanding that, Sandra, you're raising them different. It's not like that. You don't have to be like that. The number one thing for me has just been talking about it. It's been talking about it. And what's crazy is how our brain works, the trauma brain. And and I find myself typing and I get stuck in spaces and I'm just like, what happened? Where was I? Where did I live? How many months pregnant was I? I get stuck. And to this day, I still don't remember certain parts of my life. And it's frustrating. And sometimes I find myself crying about it. I get frustrated because I'm like, damn it. That was a big time in your life. How do you not remember that? But I'm like, okay, I understand. My brain is trying to protect me from that. It's trying to protect me from the ugliness that I experienced and that I survived. And I get it, but come on, like I'm trying to share my story here. I'm trying to help those that still haven't got to the space that I'm in today. So it's just frustrating to me that happens. So I love talking about it because, like I said, it does heal me, but it is still hard. It is very much hard to talk about still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Travis over here.
I know. We're big
You know what?
criers.
I honestly, for like how much we talk about the things that we talk about, we do not have a box of tissues in here.
I know.
Like that
man.
is like, why not?
I know.
But yeah, that part of it, the amnesia, is really, really hard to grapple with because I will have conversations about certain things and people around me will remind me of something and I'm like,
Right.
when?
We just had a conversation recently where I told you a story that she was present for, and she's like, I'm so sorry, but I don't even remember that happening.
Right?
I don't, yeah, it's completely, the memory has exited. And then, especially when it's in like a group setting and more than one person telling you, like, oh, this is actually how it happened. And you're like, I have no recollection. It really does make you, like you're saying, a lot of different emotions, but like anger does come up a lot.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's those memories that are kind of like, oh, it was supposed to be this.
Yes.
Right. And it just ended up being something that I completely forgot about. We definitely understand that. How tough was it to watch the movie with your daughters?
It was hard. I didn't wear makeup. I wore a hoodie, sweatpants. I was as comfortable as I could be because I told them, girls, just know it's going to happen. The works is going to happen. And what's crazy is my daughters were crying. They were crying. And at the end, we talked about it. And they're like, we can only imagine what you went through. And I feel bad because I love that they're open. I love that they're very vulnerable with me. But I know my 18-year-old daughter feels like she carries a lot with her. And you can tell by the way she talks about certain things. And it's to this day, we have not talked about her father. And honestly, she doesn't even remember what he looks like. She doesn't remember his name. She does not remember. And what's crazy is someone on this platform reached out to me. I did a podcast with Blooming Wellness last year. We talked about all this stuff. She put it on social media. This individual found me on social media and she commented, she goes, oh my God, Sandra, thank you for sharing your story. Sandra is this type of way. Da, da, da. I know because I know her. Da, da, da. And I'm like, how does she know me? Like, who is this? She was somebody who was in that space with me when I was experiencing the DV. So she knew who Sandra in that time going through this. And I had no idea who I had to look at her little picture at the profile picture. And I was like, I don't know who that is until she started telling me things. I was like, oh, it's you. We lived together. She was renting a room in the other household, in the same house. And how did se me pasó. I'm like, oh my, now I know who it is. But I'm like, what? Just seeing my daughter, talking to my daughter about she didn't really talk to me about it much. The 19-year-old did. But again, she's not the one that has to live with the fact that it was her dad. Right. And there's certain things I have a whole box of photos from that time in my life that I have not dug into for a very long time. And my 19-year-old pictures, I look through. My son, the 10-year-old, I look for her box. And I just feel I feel so bad that I can't give that to her yet. Because just looking at the photos, I'm like, Oh, I can't. I am not there yet. And I told her the other day when she turned 18, that was just so hard to not being able to share certain photos of her with the posts that I share and whatnot, because that means I'd have to open that box. And then from that box is going to come questions, and I'm being selfish. I'm not ready for that. And just watching that movie with her, I can only imagine what she was experiencing. You know, me, I experienced it one way, right? The DV part, but knowing that it was her dad, I feel like that's, she carries something with her. So we still haven't got to that space yet. And I did promise her would get to it soon. So that's something I'm actually going to have to do very soon, in being able just to share that part of her life with her. Yeah.
Right. How long ago was it? Was it when she was very
She
young?
was young. She was very young. The last time she saw him, I want to say she was either 3 or 4, and it wasn't a good experience. She was surrounded at gunpoint with him, and I got a call saying you need to come pick her up, and that was her weekend with him. And since then, that's when I made the decision. I said, you are not going back anymore. And yeah, we drive by, because I'm in San Diego often to visit my foster parents or my sister, and we drive by the area. Well, not too close to the area, because I haven't driven by that area in years,
Yeah.
but we're close, and she doesn't remember anything at all, which is, again, the brain. I get it. I get it.
Right.
But I'm just like,
Right. In this case, it might be a blessing,
oh,
you know, like
yes.
you said, our brain protects us from a lot. And so I've had to learn that with some of the traumas I've been through, it's like the memories will come in time. And when I'm supposed to remember, I'll remember. But right now, my brain is protecting me, because
Yeah.
sometimes we can't take another thing on, you know?
Yeah.
So
Very,
yeah, my
very
heart goes out
true.
to you and your daughter,
Thank
because
you.
like you said, I can't imagine how she feels about it. And with watching the movie and just knowing probably some of the small snippets that she knows,
Yeah.
my mom went through something similar. And so I always grew up with questions and feeling like I couldn't ask them, because I knew it hurt her, and I didn't want to pry into something that hurt my mom so much.
Yeah.
And then I did have a conversation, I think when I was 17 or 18 with her, and similar thing. She brought out the box. I finally saw the photos of my dad and all of those things, but I never held it against her. So, as a daughter whose mother has experienced similar things, I don't know if that's a comfort to you. Of, as daughters, we don't hold things against our moms for choosing differently and for making choices that better themselves.
Thank you. I'm praying that that's how it rolls over here, because I don't know. Well, I'll cross that bridge when we get there, but it's coming.
Yeah.
It's here.
Yeah.
We have to set a time aside to really just go in. So yeah.
Right. And then I think it's like that fear of just, it exists and the box is there and it's just been there and it's been there and it's been there,
Looming.
and I'm not going to open it. I'm not going to open it. So then when you finally do get to it, it's like a ripping off of a Band-Aid type of situation, and it'll probably allow you both to heal together, which is so hard. But like Christina said, that pressure of having to do something at a certain time, that's kind of made up. And I know you like want to honor your daughter's questions and things like that. From what you've shared so far, they both sound like outstanding, understanding, like very lovely girls. So I don't think,
Thank you.
like to Christina's point, that they're not gonna, hold you to it. Like, hey, you said on this date. But actually, speaking to that, I myself am a single mother to my nearly 4-year-old. Acts older than that though. So they're crazy.
They are.
The toddler
Oh
age
my
is kind of nuts.
gosh.
It's
They
like I wouldn't
run
replace
you.
it. I know. I wouldn't replace it for the infancy. Like, obviously, I
Oh
miss
yeah.
her being so little. And I look back on pictures, I'm like, oh, she was just such a squish. But yeah, the personality part of toddlerhood is so fun. Like, she has us over here rolling. Like, she's hilarious. So I commend you,
Aw.
because I have a huge support system here, and I don't know how I would be able to function without them. So I just wonder, how do you manage caring so deeply for your 4 children, doing things very different from how you were raised? And what kind of support system have you been able to create for yourself and your children?
I can say that I wasn't always the mom that I am today. And that's unfortunate, because my 3 oldest had to experience a different version of Sandra versus my 10-year-old, who's soon to be 11. He got to experience a different mom. I think the one that got it the worst, unfortunately, was my 23-year-old. I'm sure all older siblings can say the same. That's when I was going through everything. And never had the family to run to. It was friends that stayed close. I still talk to many of my middle school friends. Mind you, I didn't go to high school. I went to up to 6th grade. So just to be able to maintain those relationships has been life-saving in a sense, because they were with me when Sandra had a family. They were with me before the foster Sandra. They were with me before the teen mom Sandra. So they got to experience that with me. So it's nice to know that other people have memories of what I used to have. But it wasn't easy. Many times I thought about giving up. Many times I understood why my mom did what she did, why it was easier for her to walk away. I mean, I'm never going to forgive her for doing what she did, but I understand. And there's many resources out there. There's so many places that will support parents in different ways. And it's still hard. They're 23, 19, 18, and 10. And it doesn't get any easier. Circumstances change, yeah, but it doesn't get easier. So my little village, for the most part, my foster mom helped me so much. She allowed me to live out my teen years with boundaries, of course. Still, get home, put him to bed, be here on time to wake him up and get him ready for school. She still had those things set for me. But I remember one time I tried sneaking out and she was upstairs having her wine and she's like, Sandra, I can hear you, right? And I'm like, she goes, you don't have to sneak out, darling. It's okay. You can use the front door. So just being able to still have somewhat of, a life as a teenager, I guess, in a sense,
Right.
was very helpful. And even after the fact, I mean, I still call her, we still text, we visit once in a while. And honestly, my family, my village has always been friends. And that's all I have. And they are family to me regardless. I have my sister now who is in San Diego, but I mean, we all have busy lives. We all have jobs. We all have other things that we need to do. So we can't always show up in the way that, I don't know, the way I guess I pictured a family to be like, or what a family's supposed to be like, oh, go to your sister's house or go to your mom's house down the street, or where's your brother? Like, I don't have that. Honestly, I don't know how I did it. I've always kept my head above water, but I don't know how I kept swimming. I don't. There's been very many, and I've shared them on my platform, many dark spaces that I've been in, unfortunately, but I'm still here. So that goes to show that my friends show up for me in many ways. I'm forever grateful for my people. I'm forever grateful. And I'm talking about people I've even met on here. Today, I went on a hike with a friend of mine who is in need of a friend. And I met her through this platform and we became very close. And she lives right down the street from me. So building my family is going to be a never ending story for sure. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the way my family looks and the structure of it. And for my babies, I mean, I just always strive to be the best that I can. I had a prime example of what not to be, what kind of mother not to be in life. So I know what not to do. But what to do, honestly, has always been a struggle. How do you do things right? Well, I don't know. I don't know. I learned a lot from watching my friends with their parents growing up. The pasate mija, come eat, or their friends are in trouble or they need help. And there I am, I'm that present person that will show up for their friends as much as possible to my capacity, of course. But just being able to provide a space in which we can talk about things and not sweep things under the rug and just create a safe space where there's no judgment and just be ourselves. Yeah. And that's all I can do for them because I didn't have that growing up. There's a lot of things I didn't have growing up, but there's only so much I can do for them. But one of the things for sure is like when we're out and about, they think we're sisters, just all hanging out, whatnot, because of the way we, get along. And I feel like that's a beautiful thing, is being able to know that my daughters at the end of the day are excited to see me, or me picking them up from campus, or while they were in high school, they were excited. Mom, can't wait till you get here. We have something to tell you. And I'm like,
right.
You did good, Sandra. You did good.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. I'm proud. I'm proud that me and
Yeah.
my daughters have this relationship.
Right.
They trust you and they feel safe.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. You have to remind yourself in those moments that if you were not doing at least something right, or if you were not allowing yourself to be vulnerable with them, then they wouldn't come to you with those things and be excited to hang out with you. Because I had the same relationship with my mom growing up. We weren't as close in age, but we have got good genes. So a lot of it was that same kind of dynamic, like, oh, you guys are sisters, right?
Yeah.
And I used to get so like, oh, no, we're not. Like, why do I think I'm old? It wasn't that, obviously.
Yeah.
But, and I now am probably going to look forward to that with my daughter. And so it is a very beautiful thing to have, because I think that from that perspective, like, she was always my mom first and my friend second.
Yes.
So it's like she was always going to handle the business. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't just be running around here talking all crazy.
Yep.
But I could definitely come to her with the things that made me feel like uncomfortable, or, and just to have that person in your life anywhere. It sounds like you've really been very meticulous about choosing who your family is. And I feel like that's such a blessing, because a lot of us are in this weird place where we've not chosen our family and we just deal
Mm-hmm.
with who they are
Yeah.
because
I
we don't
hear
have a
you.
choice, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think that that's one thing that social media has really brought to our lives that enriches us,
Yeah.
is that we can have these communities and these conversations with strangers and form these bonds with people who have maybe gone through similar things as us.
Yeah.
There's a lot about social media that causes harm, but I think that
Yeah.
that's one of the things that causes a lot of good.
Yes, I call it the Chingonahood, right? The community, the
Yeah.
space that has been created by simply just venting in a creative way on social media. And it's beautiful, and something that came up for me a few weeks no, when did semester start? Whenever this fall semester started, in August for them, I got a lot of the feedback of, oh, you should let them do it themselves. That way they can learn how to register for school, the FAFSA, the questions, their friends. I've helped over 15 students register, set up their financial aid, CCC apply, the registration for college, just navigating the ups and downs of just even starting. But the feedback I got was, let them do it themselves. That way they can learn. They're old enough, they can figure it out. And I'm like, the day I'm no longer here anymore is the day my girls are going to have to figure shit out on their own. I had to figure things out on my own because of the decisions my mother made. I am not my mother. I am present. I am here. And I come with the knowledge and I come with the experience. So why the hell would I let my kids struggle in trying to register for a class? Why?
Right.
Why? When that time comes, they'll figure it out. And I don't do it for them. I guide them. I walk them through it. I have them ask me questions and then I answer it for them, right? So there's still a way to educate your children and show them the way without having to constantly always do things for them. Because yes, I want them to learn. Yes, I want them to be independent, but I'm not going to go ahead and act like I don't have the experience or knowledge and not give them that when I didn't have it. Because I know how lonely and how scary that space can be. So why would I do that to my children? So I was like, come on now, y'all. Like, you really think I'm going to hold back and no, figure it out? No,
No,
no.
especially when, like you said, you had a different experience. Like, now we can choose differently. Which kind of leads me to my next question. I am really excited to dive into this because I've always been really passionate about foster care. And I would love one day to be able to foster and create a safe space for foster kids. The odds are really stacked against kids in the foster care system, with only 50% graduating from high school, 3% attending college, and only 1% earning their degree. That statistic was crazy to me. What can the average person do to support children in the foster care system?
I feel like the number one way is becoming a mentor. I think showing up in a space as a foster parent is different versus a mentor. And I feel like I lacked that. I needed a mentor in my life because my foster mom had to be a foster mom. She had to set rules. She had to have expectations. Mind you, I came from a life that I didn't have rules. I didn't have a bedtime. And then I'm integrated into a life in a world where people actually sit down and have dinner themselves, really, and talk about how their day went. People do this? Like, oh, okay, cool. But I feel like if I would have had a mentor, it would have been life changing for me. I think my path would have been different. But I know there's a place called Casa. You sign up, you go to a few meetings, you do like a training and whatnot, and you're able to enter these spaces and be a mentor to foster youth who are in different spaces in their life, different times in their life, whether they're getting ready to transition out and emancipate, or whether they literally just got pulled from their families, or whether they have court dates. You show up in these spaces for them. And I feel like we need that. We need more of that. And it is a very hard space to be in because we are troubled. We are hurting. We are healing. Not all of us are angry. Some of us are just hurt. And I feel like that gets translated into whatever that person thinks it is. Like for me, in many years, people are like, oh, she's angry, she's difficult. I'm not difficult. You're just not listening to me. And I came with a child, my son. So yeah, Mama Bear was trying to be as protective as possible. And you consider me angry? Yeah, now I'm angry. So yeah, I became an angry individual, constantly trying to run away, constantly just trying to live life the way I wanted to, because I'm like, who are these people? If they already think I'm angry, what else are they saying about me, So I think just having that mentor who could have had my back in those times, I feel like that would have been best. But just supporting people who talk about their stories on social media, understanding that every story is different. Not everyone has a story that I have. Not everyone was able to keep their child while they were in the system. And I understand that, but just being able to show up and just support them, hear them out, right? Hear them out, because again, every story is different. And I feel like we tend to kind of have this image in our head of what a foster child should be, or a foster youth, and how that should have played out, because they took you from one bad family to a good family. What are you complaining about? Some kids get abused. Some people emotionally, physically, mentally, you name it. You see all types of abuse within the system, even from the social workers, the very individuals who get paid to bring you in and place you, sometimes start building up this resentment towards you, start treating you a certain way. I remember when I was brought in, and this man is still in the same field. He's a supervisor now in San Diego. He told me, he's like, you're going to end up just like your mother. He's like, and your son's going to end up back over here. So if you just hop in the car and make things easy for me, let's just move on with our day. You're going to be on drugs, dead, or in jail. And it is what it is. He's like, so stop putting up a fight. And I'm just like, wow. Well, sir, I'm not dead. I'm not in jail, and I'm not on drugs. So please, you get pulled from one unsafe space, get put into another where it's supposed to be safe, but yet you have these individuals around you. And again, that's not the case for everyone. There are very amazing social workers. One that I still talk to all the time, and we're on social media, so she sees my life. My intake worker, who's retired now, messaged me on LinkedIn a few weeks ago. I haven't even fully read the full message. It was like a week ago, actually, because I started to cry the minute I read half of it. I'm like, this is my social worker. This is she saw me through one of my hardest times. So it's nice for people that showed up for me in those spaces to now realize, like, damn, Sandra's doing good. Good for her. Like, look at her. She didn't turn out to be what all these people thought she would turn out to be. So again, just the mentor part, show up, support, and take people's stories for what they're worth. Don't try to change it up based off of your own personal feelings or what your ideas are. No, just hear us out. Hear us out and understand that we're sharing what we're sharing because we want awareness. We need to spread awareness. A lot of work still needs to be done. And I know with the platform that I have, I can definitely assist with that. I just haven't been in a space in which I can do that yet. I do it more so like on an education side, like sharing the beautiful feeling that I felt that day of graduating with my kids watching. And that day I'm never going to forget. But just being able to share that to increase that number 1%, it shouldn't be that shouldn't even be a thing. The amount of resources and support that we get, no, something's wrong. Someone is dropping something's up out there, and man, it's going to be years and years of work. But it takes all of us sharing our story and just being vulnerable and talking about, it's not as pretty as people think it is. So
right. It's heartbreaking to see, because I think, like you said, you hear of somebody going into foster care and then getting with a good family or what seems to be a good family, and you're like, oh, okay, they're fine, they're doing well now. Yeah, fine. Like they're going to be fine. I didn't realize that even after that, the odds are still stacked against you, because there is not a lot of stability, and you're basically ripping a child away from their family, or maybe their family member left them, and there's a lot of trauma there that still remains. So then expecting them to just behave normally when they get placed in a home that's not their home,
strangers, ultimately.
Right. There's definitely some oversight there. And there are people who are in jobs that shouldn't be in their jobs. Like you said, like with social workers, I think that's going to always be the case in many industries that affect people. But this especially just has always been, it makes me angry because these kids are already going through so much. Why make it worse for them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
A lot of stereotypes and stigmas that
Mm.
get attached to visualizing, like you said, how that individual is supposed to appear and act and behave
Mm-hmm.
without thinking about how did they get here in the first place.
Yeah.
And let's try to understand maybe the why behind their behavior and why it is this way. Why is a child always leaving and running away? Can we get to that part of it
Mm-hmm.
instead of villainizing them
Yep.
and saying that's bad, like don't do that, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, I noticed that you are always trying to escape.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about why that is,
Yeah.
right? Get down to like the actual root of it. And it's really not that difficult to find the answer when you know their background and where they came from.
Yeah. It's
Right?
not
What was
hard to
first?
sit down and actually shut up for a minute and listen.
Mm.
Listen to what we have to say. Don't sit there and push us to say what you want to hear or what you want us to
Right.
say. Hear us out. And if we're not ready to talk, we're not ready to talk. I'm sorry. I'm no longer living with my parent. I no longer have my siblings with me. You know what kind of shit I just went through, and you want me to be vulnerable with you, and I just met you 5 minutes ago? Seriously?
Yeah.
Right.
Come on now. It doesn't take an education or a book or a degree to understand that or to
Yeah.
even know that. It's
Right.
compassion. And if you're in that field, you need that. And some of these people lack that 100%. And it's infuriating just to even know that these are the people that, and that plays into the 1%, that plays into the 3%, right? Because they push you on, oh, you need to get a job when you get out. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna survive? Oh my gosh, you're this, you're that, you're ungrateful, you're whatever it may be. And it's like, why are we always being pushed to find a job? Education is
Right.
it's an option. It's a possibility. The resources are out there. I remember working at the EOPS office at Mount Sac for 9 months, and the student, she looked so nervous. I can already tell something was up. And then she was with a lady. You could tell a social worker from a social worker. Come on. I was like, she's a social worker. I was like, but I'm not going to assume she's a foster youth. So you know what? I was like, all right, how can I help you? She comes up, she goes, well, they told me to come here for something. And I was like, okay, well, tell me more about you. And she's talking to me. Lady's over there click-clacking on her phone, rolling her eyes. But she goes, come on. She's snapping her fingers. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not the one. I am not that today, lady. Today you're going to learn. So she's over here snapping her fingers. She goes, okay, so did you ask? She goes, I don't know what to ask. And I was like, and who are you? And she goes, oh, I'm a social worker. She's supposed to be here. And I was like, she's supposed to be here doing what? She goes, asking questions. And I was like, and what are you supposed to be here for? She's like, well, I'm supposed to bring her. I'm like, and help her, right? That is part of your job as well, right? Not just to get her here, not just to be the transportation, but to support her and help her navigate this space that she has no idea about. So how about you step off your phone and do your job before I make a phone call? I was like, this is not okay. This child is lost. She's not even out of high school yet. And you expect her to know what to do?
And what questions to ask and where to go.
So I ended up sharing my
to do with her
platform
life.
with her, and I said, I'm a DM away. I'm a phone call away on there. Reach out whenever. I'll be here. You can come find me here. And I told her my days and everything. But I was just like, that's supposed to encourage us to pursue higher ed. Really?
Right.
No. In that case, let me just find a job at McDonald's and call it a day and have them shut up and get off my back. You know, so it's frustrating. It's very frustrating to see that, you know, and then we get to this whole 1%. Cool. Then what? What happens then?
Right.
What do I do now? I'm not even doing anything in regards to my degree. I'm doing communications and marketing now, and I'm self-taught. My platform taught me that. I didn't get a degree in that. I taught myself how to do that because I don't have that support. I don't have those connections or, hey, you know, come apply here. I know people. I know. No, there's no experience at all either. Like, come on. I got my degree. Now what? So it's that relationship between education now and being a foster youth and just trying to survive in this world.
Yeah.
I'm in between all that right now because I feel like entrepreneurship, it's where it's going to be for me. But at the same time, I want to honor my degree. I want to honor the 1%. I want to honor the person that I've become to prove people that I was not going to be what they thought I was going to be. Like my maternal side of the family. I strive every day to be better than yesterday to show them, look, I'm going places, I'm doing things, and I'm okay. I'm okay, and I will figure it out as always.
It sounds like at each level you reach a different type of difficulty. So, okay, great. We got you to graduate from high school. Amazing. Incredible. You've already beat the odds by 50%, right? But then it's like, okay, well, what are the next steps? I don't always have to pursue higher education, right? Like you said at the beginning of the episode. Or what if I really do want to pursue higher education? Do I have to feel like it's this rigid, pick one, stick with one, and get your degree and find a job in that industry and that's your life, right? Or can we teach these kids how we nourish other students and other young people that life is very fluid and you don't have to stick to one thing? I can't tell you how many times I changed my mind as a 18, 20 something about what it is that I was going to do, and it was very different from what I had originally planned. And making that okay, and making them understand like you have the opportunity to change your mind just like the next person, and you shouldn't let these pressures from these outside worldviews or these outside opinions of a social worker who really didn't give you the time of the day to begin with. So their opinion should automatically have less weight to it because they really didn't help you get to that point. There were maybe other people in your life or yourself. You have that intrinsic motivation. You're like, I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
Right.
Because there are other external motivating factors that are like, hey, there's a lot of people saying some stuff about me that I know is not true. And it's like, I'm going to prove to myself that it's not true. And they could just watch, right?
I agree.
Yeah. We talk about that a lot, is that the outsider perspective, the outsider opinion, like how does that affect how we behave, how we go through our everyday life, how we show up here on the podcast.
Right.
And we're honestly just kind of like, whatever, think it.
Right.
At
Even
this point,
culturally.
Yes. Think it.
And
I don't
that's
care.
all we can do, because we're not going to be authentic and we're not going to be true to ourselves if we try to shift who we are and how we speak, how we walk, depending on what others expect from us. And I've crossed that a few times on this platform, and I honestly don't give a crap about what people think about the word or what people think that I'm sharing. Like at one point I shared that I was going out with my friend. She took me on a San Diego trip for my birthday, and it was a girls' weekend, just living a little for my birthday. Mind you, it was my first time ever leaving for my birthday. I've never left my kids. I never did anything outside of my 13-year relationship. It was just me learning how to be me outside of mom, outside of nurse, outside of employee. And this person just had a whole thing to say on social media. And I'm like, you don't get it, do you? I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm not going to explain it to you either. You can struggle on your own, in your own little world that you have. Whatever idea you have in your head of whatever my platform's supposed to look like. Like, all right, no. But then you get the other comments. It's like, you go, girl, you live your best life. Go out there, you know, you're smiling, you're laughing, you're dancing. And I'm like, well, that's what we're supposed to be doing, empowering one another, right? But you get two different sides on social media, and you can't.
I love watching people go out. Are you kidding? I'm like, yes, I can't do that right now, but I'm going to live through you in this social media post. Because we saw that you went to one of the drafted events.
I did.
Everybody sells so bad, but they sell out of the ladies'
They
tickets
do
really quick.
fast. They do. Yes. That was definitely,
that really fun?
It was a lot of fun. And honestly, I went in because I wanted to watch the game. My kids had plans and I didn't want to watch it here by myself. So I was like, where can I go watch it? And then when I seen it, I was like, you know what? I'm going. I'm going to go by myself. I don't care. So I went by myself. There's only 5 Padres fans in the whole little place that they had rented out. Everyone was Dodger fans. So I was like, it's cool. But I ended up meeting 5 badass girls, and we stuck together the whole night. We danced, we sung, and I actually just went out with them to a Halloween party this weekend. They're in Oceanside and San Marcos or Vista. And we went out this weekend, and it was just like, oh my gosh, we already have a Friendsgiving plan. We have a concert we're going to in November. So yeah, I may not have met someone, and that's cool because I wasn't expecting to meet someone on my first drafted event. But I did walk out with new friends. So it's having that mindset of, okay, I'm not going to go in looking for love or a connection. You can meet friends. You can meet friends. Sure. I know I did. And I'm good. I could take there's room for many in my life. So that I walked out just meeting new people, and it was great. It was such a good time for sure.
That sounds like so much fun.
Well, that's good. Yeah. We definitely want to get to one. So maybe we'll see you at the next one. We're always like, we have our eyes peeled.
Obviously baseball season is done for us.
I know.
Sad.
Unfortunately.
I know they're probably going to do a lot more Padres games just from like the polls that they send out for next season. And I think they're going to start doing soccer. And so we really want to go see the San Diego women's soccer team because it's so fun. I don't know if you've ever been to like a live soccer game.
No, never.
It's so fun. Like I underestimated how fun the games are. It's really fun. And it's
I
like
actually had a talk with them at the event, and I said, hey, we should definitely collab. We could do like a drafted Chingonas type event outside of the sporting world, you know, and just bring a lot of people, like who went to the same college? What major do you have? You know, like connect on that level and being able to hold like very, I don't know, different conversations, right?
That would be so fun.
I know I need to keep talking to them about it, but I'm like, that would be a good idea. I was like, let's do it. I'm so down because it was so much fun. It was so much fun. So yeah, if you guys make it to one, let me know. I'll go.
Awesome. We'll reach out. And if anyone listening is in the San Diego area, there's a group called Drafted and they hold events for you to mingle, meet other singles. But like Sandra's saying, sometimes you just walk out of there with friends, and that's is great too. I'm always open to any possibilities.
I need friends.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you share with our audience some more information about where they can find you on social media?
Yes, I am on Instagram primarily at Educated Chingona. I also have a second page. It's Chingonaology, the study of being a Chingona, where I'm hoping to create a space where we generate funds for women pursuing higher ed and just experiencing hardships. So that's still a passion project of mine that I'm trying to work out. But yes, Educated Chingona on Instagram, and I have more links on my link tree as well in regards to like my website. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for all of your time today.
Thank
we
you.
Honestly, on some of these topics, we could have just kept going and going.
Oh, yes.
We have to cut ourselves off quite often.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. We loved this conversation, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon. We'll keep connected.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Well, what a lovely and important conversation to have had with Sandra. We are very thankful to her for being so open, honest, vulnerable, being able to share parts of her story that are clearly very difficult for her to share, and that she feels comfortable enough with us and with our listeners, the feelers, to have had that space and the ability and capability to do that. So we are very thankful to her. That's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're still working through it, as we all are still working through our things. Yeah. And so we really commend her, and we definitely give her snaps, kudos, all the things, because that's not something that we ever expect any of our guests to do. We always preface the conversation with whatever you're comfortable with sharing, please share. Whatever you do not want to share, absolutely do not. It's always entirely up to them, really.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be, because you should never pressure someone to talk about something that they're not ready to talk about.
For sure.
And our heart goes out to her making it happen, especially when a lot of the time you don't really know how to answer that question. I don't really know how I'm making it happen. I think that we find ourselves, you and I, in that space a lot of the time as well, of like, whatever it is that I'm experiencing in this moment, I'm not really sure how I'm surviving it, but I just am.
Yeah.
And so for her to have been able to create this family and create this support system, parts of her story are very heartbreaking, but that just led into what was heartwarming also about her situation, and her being able to really, I don't know, muster up the courage, which is so difficult to do when you're struggling and coming out of dark places and really going in and out. Because like we say, depression is not something that you just have once, then it goes away. It's a very, very real feeling to be there. And then the next day you have a better day. But then the day after that, it's horrible again. Not to say that I'm diagnosing anyone here on this podcast, but those feelings of depression, those feelings of anxiety are very real. And so again, we thank Sandra for coming on.
Yeah. I think that a lot of times when we're reaching out to a guest and they just have a lot on their resume or they're doing so much. I mean, she is a nurse.
She just graduated. She graduated recently with her bachelor's.
Yes. Co-wrote a book, is going to work on another book, has multiple passion projects that are activism and support related for the communities that she's passionate about, and raises 4 kids. I'm just like, I don't have half of those things, and I'm just like struggling to make it through my week, you know?
Right.
So I was very almost intimidated, and then we get on the call with her and I'm like, she's just normal, regular, like you and me. Which it's always refreshing to be reminded that badass chingonas can do a lot and still are just going through the motions to survive every day and just get themselves through the task.
Right. It's nice to always have these conversations where, you know, someone is in the middle of the fight, very much how we are, and just trying to figure out what works for us and not necessarily anticipating ever getting out of something, but understanding that no matter what, life will always manipulate things, and you just have to be able to adapt. And it doesn't necessarily mean that that's easy. It doesn't really mean that it gets any easier. But when you do find the tools to help you, you can recall a moment in your life where it was like, okay, I felt like this at this moment and I used this tool to help me cope. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are end all be all experts. Right. And so it's nice to talk to someone who is really in the thick of figuring things out while still making shit happen for her platform, for things that she wants to strive to be better at, because that is honestly the reality of everyone's life, whether they're being honest about it or not. We really appreciate her honesty, and we want to know what you guys think. So before we pray and close out this episode, we wanted to let you know that you can follow us on Instagram at empathsanonpod. We will continue to share what it is that we're up to, and of course, clips from every episode as we do. That's pretty much it, I think.
Yeah. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you guys for getting us to 100 followers, which I don't care if people think that that's silly to celebrate, but from going from 0, it's exciting. And of course, follow us on whatever app you listen to the podcast on so that you can know when we post a new episode, which is every Wednesday.
Wednesdays are for feeling.
Wednesdays are for feeling. On Wednesdays, we feel.
True.
On Wednesdays, we podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, please comment with a graduation cap.
Yay! That's cute. Let us pray. Spirit, grant me the serenity to thrive despite my circumstances.
The courage to take my story into my own hands.
And the wisdom to not read a social worker that doesn't belong in that job when they try me. And so it is.
Bye, feelers. We'll see you next week.
Mwah.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's EA meeting.
If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify. We'd love to hear from you.
You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at empathsanonpod.
Don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts, or subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell so you're the first to know when we release a new episode.
We'll meet you back here on the Green Velvet Couch next time.
Bye, feelers!